Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. How are y'all doing tonight? Yeah, good. Thank you for coming. Beautiful spring day. Rites of the Earth, closing reception and artist talk. So perfect day for this exhibition. So yeah, we'll introduce ourselves and talk a little bit about our work and what brought us together here at the Bank Building Studios and Gallery, and talk about our process and the theme and what connects it all together in this exhibition. And then if you guys want to ask any questions too, feel free, please. So towards the end. So my name is Fotini Christophillis, and I came here at the Bank Building Studios 2 years ago now. And so there's been a nice group of artists here, a great collective here in Greenville of artists, and people working. And we open for First Fridays, and so we recently started to set up the center area as an art gallery, and this is our curating our exhibitions here. So Jess came about a year ago and joined us here, and then we have recently invited Heidi Keyes to come and join us in this group exhibition here, Rites of the Earth. So welcome, Heidi. Yeah, and all of you, welcome. So we'll just talk a little bit. I'll let you guys introduce yourself if you'd like, and talk a little about who you are and what brought you here in the Bank Building Studios, and then we'll talk about our work individually and our process, and then what connects it together in this exhibition. So Rites of the Earth. So I'll just start there. To me, that means, I really love that word rite, and I think that's why I selected it, and it feels to me like a ceremony and a connection where you're becoming one with the earth, and you're really more than just a view of a landscape, but more of an internalization of the landscape. And to me, that's what it means, almost like kind of an interbeing with the landscape. Studying a little bit of Buddhism, and Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist monk, he does some work on Zen and the earth, and so I was thinking about that and that connection with the earth in that way. So more of a meditation and connection with the earth. So for me, that's what it means. And I feel like each of us have our own style, and that's very unique and very different, but we can connect it along those lines and along that theme. So yeah. So you want to introduce yourself, Heidi, and a little bit about your work and who you are?
Yeah, I'm Heidi Keyes. I'm from Toronto. I'm a Toronto artist, and I met Fotini 3 years ago here at the Bank Studios, and I kept in touch with her, and she came to one of my exhibits here in Greenville, and we're back here again after the third year, and I was lucky enough to be invited to a group exhibition here, and I really like the topic because it's something I'm interested in. I did an exhibit in Toronto called The Earth Idyllic, so it's somewhat related, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more about this whole exhibit, because it's sounding more and more interesting as we're going along.
Yeah.
I'm Jess Stone, so I'm the other artist here at the Bank Building Studios. I've been here for about a year now. I was at the Greenville Center for Creative Arts for 2 or 3 years before. And so I met Fotini when I joined the Bank Building, and I met Heidi through Fotini, and I think we put a wonderful show together.
Yeah.
I relate a lot to what you said about the title of the show, and I feel like a lot of my work really pays homage to just the earth in general, and the small parts of it too. Like some of my textural pieces remind me of dirt, but an elevated version of it. So everything I do is related to the earth and inspired by nature.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll start off and talk a little bit about my work, and then we can each talk about our work individually. Does that sound good? So a little bit about process, inspiration, influence, and aspirations. Does that sound good? So a lot, and we can kind of tie it together. So in my work, I typically work in series. So rather than just painting one thing, I'll typically paint a series and kind of dig into that and repeat things a lot and kind of see what else I can do with things. And I feel like those series become like a repertoire of imagery that I kind of carry throughout my life, and they never really leave. So if I work on one series, the other one's there, and so I'll get back to it. And somehow they all kind of influence each other in different ways, and I learn something. And so I think for me, that's a way I like to work. So nature and landscape is always part of that. So creating spaces, a connection to place. And so this recent work in this exhibition is all inspired by the sea and water, and also my experience recently living and working in Cortona, Italy, and some plein air watercolor paintings I did of the valley and the view of the valley in Cortona, which to me was a very special connection. The light there was something really, really like golden, and just the blue color of the hills, and there was a luminous sense there. And so the work really is about connecting to that space and that light. And then these sea paintings. So when I was teaching with the program, we started off the program in Oxford, and with 1 week in Oxford, and with the University of Georgia's exchange program in Oxford. So I taught with the study abroad program in Cortona. And so I remember going to the National Gallery in London and seeing J.W.M. Turner's paintings of seascapes. So these gorgeous seascape paintings, more classical style, but this movement and this thrust of the ocean. And I've seen those paintings on the internet, over the years, and always loved those paintings, but to see them up close and in person, and had a very kind of palpable, visceral impact on me. So I came back, and I recently did this big one here with the teal, and these small ones that are around this exhibit, and was internalizing that, trying to get the thrust of the water and the feeling of like ocean crashing, and almost like a storm, but something also very compelling and like sublime. So beauty and terror kind of at the same moment, kind of feeling, but a sense of the sublime, but in a more abstract and experimental way. So that's what I was doing with these paintings. So very much loose and free, and also the connection with water was important, not only conceptually but also in the technique. So using water in exploratory ways. So rather than just painting all with a brush on the easel, I was putting the canvas on the table and pouring water and working with the movement of water, and that became part of the whole process. So water became a medium.
That's nice. It's kind of like a recording, because it's just the subject matter is water, but also how you're using the water to create it.
Yeah, exactly. And
That's
so
nice.
The connection with water, and every time I took a jar and poured it on the canvas, I was thinking almost like a ceremony of like pouring water. And so that became part of it, like the rites of the earth, the ceremony of water and the connection to that. And part of that is a release and a surrender, like letting go, to what that water is doing, and just observing it and working with it and seeing what you can use and where you need to edit and what you need to add. So that was very interesting, way of working for me that was a bit different. And so I think I wanted to explore painting in a new way that was fresh to me. So that's what a little bit of this work is. And I would start the process too with light layers of ink washes on the canvas first. So linen canvases with ink wash, and then layer with thicker textural marks with acrylic paint, and then work with the water and kind of go back and forth in that way. So it was very much a different way of traditional easel painting for me. So that was an interesting experience, technically and also conceptually. Yeah. So I work in different series. So now my intention is to kind of take some of that, what I learned from this series, and incorporate that into other work. And so there's like conversations going back and forth. So yeah.
Well, when I think of the rites of the earth, I think of it's something that we actually haven't really canvassed very thoroughly. We don't think about it very often. What are the rites of the earth? I mean, RIGHTS or RITES, either one we don't think about. It goes like completely unnoticed. I mean, we're in the digital age right now, and we're moving into the age of intelligence with AI and everything. And the biggest concern is, the earth is going to go on without us. I mean, it'll be fine. It'll heal itself with all this climate change. Is just the earth healing itself and that sort of thing. So, but I'm an intuitive painter. Everything comes from within, and I feel everything. So it's easy for me to paint in a way. I usually do a meditation to set me into my studio, and then it just starts to come out. Unless I'm working on a canvas, I mean, I will do about 10 to 15 different sketches and that sort of thing, and I do a lot of underpainting and layered painting, which I've been learning from Fotini. She's a teacher as well, so I've been learning from her, which is great. and I do that. And I'm inspired by, I mean, anything intellectual or spiritual or, just practical, really. And so I've been painting for 3 years, so I'm an emerging artist, but I think that my aspirations are to be a really professional artist and continue constantly taking courses and building my expertise. I don't use a lot of surface materials in my work because I want the message to get across, simply because I have a lot of hidden messages in these works which you can't really see, and if you buy my work, I'm not asking you to buy it, but if you have it in your home, it'll eventually come to you what is in there, and that's what I want, is to share my insights with people. So I really like that. Jess?
Yeah. Well, I too am inspired, like I said earlier, by nature, and I use a lot of texture in my work. I feel like I really enjoy that tactile quality that comes from working with modeling paste. I do a lot of modeling paste, and I layer it up, and part of my process is not adding the color first. So like I'll just think about the texture, and I'll use the modeling paste, and I'll work with it, and usually as I'm working with it, something comes up, the movement of water, the tides, the curve and flow of a flower petal, or the surface of a rock. So all of it is very nature inspired. And then when I go back into it with the color, I'll try to, like if it's water that I'm thinking about, I might use, bring in the blues and think about color in that way. So, but yeah, it's subject matter wise, I grew up on a farm. So I was surrounded by fields and woods, and I grew up in nature a lot, spent a lot of time outside. And so a lot of my subject matter comes from the fields around my house, both from my childhood and where I live now, because I live on the lake. So I'm always around nature when I walk and go outside and spend time with my children. I'm looking at the banks of, the sides of the water and the banks, and I'm looking at the vines, and over on this other side there's the fields. And I've kind of always had this interest where we groom and we cut to play, and we put the playground, and then there's the lake, and then over here there's like this wildness that's untamed, and there's like a visible line between the two. So I think about that a lot when I'm working, and like those brambles and tangles, and then like this really manicured version of it right beside it that we inhabit. So so those are the subjects that I'm really focusing on right now. Sometimes I'm thinking about my childhood and the fields I grew up wandering through in the woods, and sometimes I'm thinking about my backyard. Mm-hmm. So it just depends.
Yeah, very nice. Lovely. I love that. Great. So one thing that comes to me when I see this work, it's abstract, inspired by nature, but abstract in very different ways. But there's also a lyricism to this work, so a connection to music in some way to me, getting that feeling, or a connection, something kind of rhythmic, some rhythms of nature. And so I was wondering what kind of music you may listen to when you paint, or just, quiet. And so maybe we can speak about that a little bit individually. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I go back and forth. Sometimes I have the music on, and sometimes I don't. It just depends on the day and the mood, but I do listen to a lot of music while I'm working.
Yeah.
And I often prefer music without words, like just some jazz or something that's kind of conducive to the energy I'm looking for, but there's no lyrics involved in it, so that's a common thing I do.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I prefer no music.
Oh, wow.
Or because I need everything it comes from within, so I can't have any distractions around me. Unless it's high frequency music or frequency music, like love frequency is 528 hertz, and that is the most beautiful music. Like I play it for my cats sometimes, and they just love it. But it really does. It just makes them so happy and mellow. And but I'll listen to that, and it'll put me in the mood for like painting and everything. But no, usually no music. I can't do that.
Yeah, interesting. So with this recent work, I've been listening to contemporary classical music, so film music. So I was listening to the Greek composer Vangelis. I don't know if you've heard of Vangelis, but very ambient. And there was an album, Oceans of the Sea, or no, Oceanic was the name of the album. But I listened to that album on repeat over and over and over when I was making these water paintings. But it was very spacious, but also there was like this kind of epic feeling to it. Like, Odysseus is going out to the sea, and so I kind of like was taking that in. It had this timeless quality.
You captured that.
Yeah. So I think that piece specifically, I was listening to that album. So I was listening to a lot of that style of music with these. So all instrumental, but contemporary film composers like that. I've been really interested in listening to that recently when I'm painting. So
it's really interesting to see how you're using texture. Your texture is vibrant. It's there, but it's so subtle. It's like a really interesting. If you look at our work side by side, because we're using some of the same materials.
Yeah, exactly. There's texture and there's also iridescence with the color, but in very different ways.
Yeah.
Like yours is more kind of like sculptural, like more like clay that you're molding, and mine is more like inky and washy, but also that contrast between the inkiness and the washes and the bare canvas with the layers of texture. So I was kind of trying to be mindful of that relationship. Yeah. So
I think you did a good job balancing those out.
Yeah. So I wanted it to feel like translucent, have a translucency, but also have a very kind of very real, earthy, tactile quality and palpability.
There's almost a violence to it, the way it's crashing, the way it's crashing. It's just like. It's saying it's time. It's time we started to pay attention to the earth and to, abide by it.
Exactly, there's an urgency. So exactly, yeah.
So I know you said that you're very intuitive. When you start your painting or drawing, is there something back there that you're thinking maybe, or do you just begin and then do you see does something come forward after you begin?
Yeah, I'll do this one particular meditation that I listen to, and when I'm finished listening to it, all the images come to me, and I don't have to worry. I just go right in the studio and start painting. So.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So different artists have different process. For me, I really like taking walks outside in nature.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like an active meditation, I find. Sometimes it's hard for me to like really sit still. It's like I always need to be like moving and like going. So active meditations work for me. Walking or journaling, writing. So sometimes I'll just start writing, and that will just help me, get centered, and then from there I'll start painting.
Yeah. So I find daily walks in nature are like a must for me. In Toronto, I go to the music garden, and it's a beautiful music garden with all of these, circular walks and spirally walks and everything like that. And it was a private-public sponsorship that made this garden, and it is exceptionally beautiful. When it was there's always something in bloom there, and it's just it's gorgeous. So that's where I go. It's a safe place for creatives to just be inspired.
And we have that in common, because walking and running is where I gather some of my best inspiration. So,
exactly, that active meditation.
Yeah, just being in nature, and it's very quiet in my neighborhood, because we're on the lake and on the water, and it's naturey. Like you never know what you're going to see.
The unexpected.
The birds fishing and turtles, like random turtles.
What it does is that it frees up all of your creative energy. It removes all of these boundaries and barriers in life in the big city or in the city from people. Someone said this to me, someone said this to me, or whatever. When you go into nature, you're completely like blossoming, and it's time to just express that beauty.
Exactly, a way to kind of get away from the noise, and chaos, and get centered and serene, and be able to work from that place.
Exactly.
Being in nature with my children is a big source of inspiration for me too, because the places I take my kids, we go often, like the backyard or down to the lake, and we spend a lot of time in those spaces. But children have this thing where they'll bring you a Circe they find, and it's a rock. It's a stick, a rock, a leaf. It's just some random thing they picked up, but they are so excited by it, and they're so intrigued. And all of a sudden, the space that they inhabit all the time is full of wonder, and there's this curiosity that's sparked. And they're like, well, what else can I find here? You know, but they're here all the time. And I feel that way a lot when I make my texture blocks, that wonder, because it is very intuitive as well. So it is kind of an adult version of bringing that wonder back into my life. Where
and going back to like being in the digital age and now in the age of intelligence, which is like AI basically. My message is to, with all of the AI applications, please try to link it into like doing something about, you know, helping the earth, helping climate change, and like just keep linking it into the ground. It has to be related to like reality, because we're in the earth. This is where we were born. This is where we live. This is where we grow our food. This is where we die. We're buried into the earth. We are the earth. You know, so that's what I'm thinking.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's always a connection to the earth. Yeah,
we must keep things really connected. Then we'll be fine.
We're perfectly fine. We can just flow with that energy, that beauty that's always available at any moment, right?
I know we all want to, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I think a lot of this work is really waking up to that and asking questions around that, you know, and it can be interpreted in any ways by the viewer, or by the audience, you know, and what that means to you. So you have your own process and the way you work, but then when that connects to someone else, they bring a new context to the conversation, right? So I love sharing work in that way, and also curating work with other artists. I think it gives it new life when you see this painting next to that and it starts to have a conversation. So I feel like that's what we're doing with this work. They're very unique work. You know, you have the paper paintings next to these very dense textural paintings. So it's like the fragility of paper and the kind of translucence of the lighter washes, and combined with this tactile quality of the sculptural modeling paste, you know. And so I think that difference in surface and texture, I think is really interesting as well, and that's a conversation.
Well, you know, I do works on paper because I'm traveling, and they're portable. I can take them with me. So, I mean, that's usually what I do. But I love works on paper. I just love the feel and the look of paper. And there's a vulnerability about it for sure. But I have a few canvases here in Greenville, which I'm going to go straight to work on. So, you know.
Great, wonderful. Yeah, I always like going back and forth between paper and canvas myself. Sometimes I need that strong support that can hold like the strong, intense marks, and sometimes I just need that vulnerability or that immediacy, you know, that you can get with paper, and that's what makes it special. Yeah, I think for me. So
I think we put a great show together.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so
really
too.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
all the work flows really well together.
Thank you for including me.
Of course.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so I always like having a new artist and a new perspective. I think it gives a new life to the work, just as like a new viewer, you know, a new audience will give life. So does another artist or another space that you're putting the work together with. So
I do plan to post on the Bank Building IG a virtual tour of the show in general, so people can tune in. I'll probably post it maybe even after this talk. And then so everybody can see, you know, all of the work that we're discussing.
Yeah, exactly, so that you can have a better look. Yeah, up close and.
But thank you so much, Heidi, for joining us.
I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, and thank you too. Yeah. So, do you want to just say one last thing about your aspirations, like what you want to do next with this work? We could each maybe have a comment about that. And do you see yourself continuing with this idea?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I see this work going forward. I am experimenting now with some collage versions of this.
Okay, cool.
So that is something I'm experimenting with right now. So that could come in the future, but it's still highly textural. But I'm really deep into these ideas right now with the texture and, you know, the nature responses. I'm probably going to continue forward with that.
Cool.
For this, it'll be a big time theme for me, at least in 2024. I had to think about what year we were in. Yeah.
So a big theme moving forward.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, right?
Yeah, stay tuned. I'll have the collages probably
beautiful.
Towards the end of the year, maybe halfway through. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. And you, Heidi?
Well, I'm excited about painting fairly loosely, but also painting in layers, and getting the hang of it so that it's really flowing really well, I want to introduce some oils to my painting, like on top of the acrylic, and maybe even some gouache, which I just bought already, and work with all of that. But I think after a while as an artist, if you keep painting every day, you've got to paint every day as an artist, and if you just keep doing it, your voice starts to really gel, and then you've found your voice, and then you do that for a while, and then maybe you want to move into something else for a while. But I mean, I'm just getting to that point, and I'm excited. And I can say, well, I'm not going to be an emerging artist. I'm an artist.
Exactly.
That's going to happen.
You've arrived.
That's a journey. That journey is forever, though.
Yeah.
You're always, if you're painting as much as you want to and desire to, and as you should be, the work will evolve, and so there's always something new happening, and so it is kind of a lifelong journey. Like,
it really
sometimes
is.
I wonder what I'll be painting when I'm 70 or something. Like, who knows? Like, what am I going to be doing then?
You'll go back to the beginning.
You just
right?
got to let it just evolve, and
Exactly. So I'm really excited about this new experimentation and exploration, and I really want to connect this now with the work that I was doing, that I'm also working on, so the more representational work, and kind of find a synthesis between the loose brushwork and the exploratory quality of the material with a more representational language. So landscape as well as figurative.
Well, I saw your Instagram site, and they look fabulous with your representational paintings. So I think that's happening already.
Yeah, I think it's happening. So I think it's natural. I don't think I need to force it. Just keep on painting.
it looks
it'll
like
happen.
a natural evolution.
Absolutely.
Like, I could see it definitely melding.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
so
thank
you
so
all for
much.
coming tonight. And any questions? No. So all right, great. Thank you. One question.
How important I think the work is about the earth, and I'm just sitting here thinking of other mediums other than painting that have focused on that as well. And this is going to sound a little strange, but there's a country song where the grandfather's talking to the adult grandson, telling him advice and singing, "You can't buy love, but just buy dirt."
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was the song.
I know what song you're talking
just
about.
buy dirt.
Yeah.
And then also the book and movie Gone with the Wind. How important, that just kind of boils down to the land.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. The connection to the earth.
Yeah.
There was a recent exhibition in Toronto, and it was a big canvas, and they just had all these little clay pots, all over the canvas. I didn't get it at first, and then I realized clay is from the earth.
Molding, shaping.
Yeah. A lot of people ask me if my work is clay. I get that question. It's a very common question I get. Yeah.
So what did you describe? What makes it your work?
It's a modeling paste. Yeah.
What is that?
It's acrylic, right?
Yeah, it's an acrylic medium. It's a thick base that you can kind of sculpt. You can tint it with color if you want to. And it's just it's basically like a really thick paint. Yeah. I buy
It's
it
the
in
same
a
type
bucket.
of, I think we're all using acrylic.
It's all
here.
acrylic, yeah.
So.
And someone sold a painting tonight, I think.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Very good.
Beautiful. Awesome. Very good. Well, thank you all again for
Yes,
coming,
thank
and please enjoy your evening and take a
Yes,
look
thank
around
you
and
so
stay
much.
tuned for the next show. Yeah?